We are just going to speak about the meeting, but we want to be as much as possible able to look to some of the issues that we want to discuss. Like we said, this is a class. So for that, I want it to be more interactive, and I want you to welcome questions and interactions. So just before I continue, I want to welcome should I say the class monitor now? Let me welcome Mr. Ben to just talk to us what to expect tonight. Shortly, about 5 minutes, begin the class. And then you can ask, put your question together. So, Mr. Ben, this is your welcome. To expect part of tonight. If I ask you to mute your line, please. Okay, Mr. Ben, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
Okay, thank you, please.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for the privilege. Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Benjamin, fondly called Iti Ben. Okay, quickly, this program has been put in place for us. Now it's called the BYB NLP Masterclass, and it's a class not for ordinary minds, but for people who want to build an extraordinary mind. So for us to be here this evening in this program, it shows that we all have a zeal to actually be the best of ourselves. Okay, it's important to know that the future doesn't just unfold; it is created, it is fought for, it is folded, and it is inspired. Okay, and programs like this or events like these are one of the to actually create the future one desire. So in this BYB NLP Masters class, it's important to know that one of the things you're going to learn is to master yourself and become the best version of you. Okay, why? Because it's important to actually understand this objective so that you know that by the end of this event, okay, something tangible is actually happening in your life. Why on that thing in this event is that you'll be generating increasing results in business and life. Because these are some of the things you'll be learning. And what you'll be learning today will be applicable to your business and to be applicable to your life. And that thing is how to manage and handle people. Okay, people are the greatest assets in life. So, and it's know how to handle and manage people and how to build a relationship. And that thing again, you'll be learning for these 3 days is how to become an excellent leader globally. How to become an excellent leader globally. If you aren't a leader, that means you can't go nowhere because it's very, very important. Why? How to deal with guilt, bitterness, anxieties, and habits. How to deal with them. Very, very important. And a lot more. Okay, so why also we have some special course materials meant for some specific person who actually won. Okay, the criteria is meant for this program is for actually the first 5 persons to register. Okay, so course materials are available, and we have the DKS Communities Kit also available for this program. Okay, so I want us to sit tight and with high expectation, okay, as this program continues. Okay, there will be a lot of questions that will prompt in our minds. You can feel free to ask. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope this introduction makes us good. Thank you very much. As I enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Done.
Thank you very much. That is my own brother, Mr. Ben. and he's the faculty director of this class that we are trying to have now. He's the HOD, head of department, and of course, you know already I'm the head coach, and so we can put some things together. All right, just before we continue, because we're making this discussion as brief as possible, I will want to recognize some persons quickly. Especially, let me start by thanking Mr. Ben. Mr. Ben has been very instrumental in trying to put all the course materials together, in trying to put a lot of works and get a lot of people online. Thank you so much for being able to put the thoughts and organization together. Let me also appreciate the president of Nigeria Association of Resident Doctor, is a person of Dr. Godia Ishaya. Is here with me to also grace the occasion with me. So I don't take this opportunity lightly. I must say that I honor the privilege for you to be here. I'm aware that you are a busy man and your schedule are very tight. In fact, as I'm aware, you're currently involved in a meeting, but you're able to find some time to be with me tonight. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your coming around. Let me also say that I'm expecting to be on board the immediate past president of the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctor is going to be with us very soon. He just trying to connect. Then I'm also expecting Dr. Bazer, who is a pulmonologist with the University
I'm already with you, sir.
Hospital. So he's still going to join us very soon. Thank you.
I'm with you already, sir.
Let me appreciate Dr. Oh, okay, it's already here. Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. I didn't see you before. You know, this is a unique class because I had to invite eminent people to be with us because it's also the maiden class that we're having. This is the first one. So I had to invite some prominent individuals so that they can also grace the occasion with us. So the immediate past president of the Nigeria Association Resident Doctor is here with us. Is a person of Dr. Uyilawa. It's a man that have really fought for the interests of Nigeria doctors. We are aware and they're well documented. Thank you, sir, for showing up. Well, I appreciate your presence tonight. And let me also use the
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Let me thank Dr. Ejiro, my bosom friend, my brothers and my brother in whatever we do. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, Dr. Okopi. Thank you, Mr. Osakwe Osadebe, a very good friend. And we'll try to work together and get a lot of results. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, Mrs. Blessing Okeke. Thank you, Abe. Thank you, Isioma. Thank you, every other person. Dr. Kopiu, I recognize your presence. Dr. Agu, I recognize your presence. And Dr. Ben, Mr. Ben Ofuya, thank you for showing up tonight. Now, I know we have a few time to interact, but like I said, this meeting is a short meeting, so I don't intend to take our time because I know we are very busy. So for that, I'm quickly going to talk about some of the subjects we'll discuss tonight so that we can have some time for question and answer. Like this, you've been told already, this is a class and the class is running for 1 hour, 8 to 9 between today and Saturday. I will be so great that you can make your time available for me for this just 3 hours, today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow, for us to discuss issues that are important to us. You know, I actually have a passion, and my passion is such a way that I see everybody perform at their optimal best. You know, that's my passion. So to be able to help you such a way that you can increase your performance to the optimal best. So this is one of the ways for us to be able to achieve that passion. So quickly, we're starting the class, and this will be the first course tomorrow, second, and the third one, then we'll round it up. Now, quickly, I just want to talk about what I've seen on the flyer, what is NLP, and simply mean neuro-linguistic, that's the meaning. As that goes on, we're going to look at some of the things that it entails. Now, what does it mean? That's the first thing we need to look at. Now it's simply the body of information that make us to understand how the human mind works. That's just a summary of NLP. It is useful in everything you want to do in this life. In fact, it makes you to be effective in life. For me, one of the testimonies I've had is when I deal with my patient. It makes me to understand my patient, and it has also helped me to care for my patients. Such that sometimes you go beyond the normal to be able to do other things. Even as a leader, I have been a leader in different capacity. It has also helped me in working with those I'm leading, in working with my superior, and in trying to raise the next generation. So in leadership, it is very helpful. When it comes to business, you cannot be a successful sales rep if you don't understand the concept of NLP. Now, I understand that some people are gifted to be leaders, some people are gifted to be sales rep, but there are some few others that if you must also lead in any of these positions, you must understand the concept of NLP for you to be more effective. So it's not just a positive thinking, but it is useful thinking. That's the word. It is useful thinking, doing what is most useful in any situation. It is useful thinking. So it's not just, sometimes you might be in some situation, at that time, you may need to run at that time. So at that time, running becomes the useful thinking. There are times you may need to fight. At that time, fighting becomes the useful thinking. So NLP is simply trying to help people to respond usefully to situation, such that your response to situation is the one that will help you to achieve your goal, not the one that will prevent you from achieving your goal. So now, if you look at the words, NLP has 3 words, N, L, and P. And each of these things refers to different things. The first one is neuro. So which refers to, we can use the word nervous system, or we can use our mind. So through which we gather and process information. And of course, we process information through what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we smell, and what we taste. So what is really the neuro aspect of the neuro-linguistic program? We said NLP means neuro-linguistic program. Okay, so the N refers to as neuro. What does it mean? It simply just means our internal processes. Everybody have an internal process. So the processes that goes on within us, so that's what we refer to as the neuro aspect of the NLP. We can use the word neural process. How the information that gets to us through what we hear, through what we see, how do we process them? How do you process them? So that's what we refer to as the neuro aspect of NLP or neurology. How do you process information? For instance, if you put me and a soldier together in the same environment, and unfortunately we have robbers attacking that environment, how do we process that occurrence? Very likely the way I'm going to process it, I'm going to run. But the way the soldier will process it will be different from me. Very likely the soldier is going to fight back. So why I would run, the soldier may fight. So the way we process things are not the same. So that's the first concept of the N in NLP. So human generally, we don't process things in the same way. We need to understand that. So it includes our internal processes, the way we process information, our internal judgments. And most of the time, these are the things we do through our 5 senses. Now let's look at the linguistic. Now the linguistic aspect of NLP just means language. It means communication. That's what it means. Language communication. Now I will want to take all the time to go through all the slides, but for some of us that are here tonight, you have access to the slides. But language refers to, linguistic refers to our language. What do we access assigned to the information we are receiving from the outside world? How do we create the sound and the images in our minds? So he quickly just referred to our language. Now, when you talk about our language, you look at internal and external. So language simply just means our speech. So we look at it, we look at the first one, our internal process, what goes on in our mind all the time. That's the first concept of NLP. The second one is our language, which can be internal. In other words, what are you hearing from inside? Every one of us at the time, we hear words from inside. What do you hear from inside? That is the first concept of language in NLP. You know, some of us, sometimes you hear you are not good enough, you hear you are going to die, you hear you will not achieve your vision, you hear you cannot do it. So you hear all kinds of negative sound inside of you, or you create all kind of negative picture in our minds. So we will understand that anything that has to do with language is either it comes in form of sounds or it comes in form of images. Some of us, when you are talking most time, you realize that you create image for what you are trying to say. For some, you create sounds for what you are trying to say. But whatever it is either your inside is speaking to you or your outside is speaking to you. So those are the two voices that come to Raw most of the time, and it helps to determine a lot of things. So your language becomes very important. So what is the language you hear inside of you? Sometimes some of us will just hear a language that you not make it to the end of this year. You just hear a language that you're not good enough. You just hear a language that how can this be happening to you? So that kind of internal voice that you hear, especially when it becomes so negative, something that we need to look into. Okay, so that's one. The other one is the external things you hear. They're very important. What do you hear from outside? From friends, from social media, from your circle of interaction? What do you hear from outside? So when we talk about the language aspect of NLP, it includes what we hear, either from our inside or from outside. Then the other thing is verbal or non-verbal. Sometimes it could be verbal, like we know. Sometimes it could be non-verbal. Nobody is saying anything, but your body language is saying something. So your body language is saying something. So this is important when you are dealing with leaders. What is your body language? This is important when you are trying to negotiate a business. What is your body language? Because most time your non-verbal communication makes up to 70 to 80% of our communication. So you must learn how to maintain your body language in consonant with what you are trying to say per time. So your body language becomes so important. Now, I would spend more time here because of time, but quickly, let me just talk about what is programming. So programming is our mindset towards people, issues, and our environment. You know, the computer could be an example. So the way we are programmed, the way our mindset is towards people, issues, and environment, that's our programming. So in summary, we have talked about 3 aspects of NLP. The first aspect is the internal process that goes on within our mind all the time. The things that goes on all the time in our mind, that is the neural process. Why the other aspect, which has to do with language and is very important. What do you hear from inside? What do you hear from outside? And whatever you hear from outside or inside, we eventually will program your mind towards people. We program your mind toward issues. We program your mind toward environment. Now, as we go on, we're going to understand this concept because it's very important. I think I'll talk about that tomorrow. The concept of the experience cycle is very important because we don't just become who we are by circumstances. we become who we are by the experiences we have had over the years. I can tell you that if you take a child of 5 years old from Nigeria and keep that child in US, give the child the next 10 years, that child will be very different from a child of the same age that was raised in Nigeria. So you can see that we become who we are by our experience. In fact, human is a collection of experience. Human being is a collection of experience. You know, that's how we say a fool at 40 is a fool forever, because by the time you are hitting 40, you will have gathered a lot of experience that will help you to make good decisions. So I'll talk about the experience cycle tomorrow and see how it influences our daily activity and how it influences our behavior. So I needed us to understand that mindset towards people is based on the experience you have. Mindset towards issues is based on the experience we have. Mindset toward our environment is based on our experience we have. So we need to understand that concept very well. Now, quickly, just before I try and start beginning to round up, I just want to talk about some principles of NLP. So if this is a class, so I need to be a bit clear. I am sure what I've said so far, I'm sure it is clear, because if it's not clear, you can drop your questions on the chat box. Mr. Ben can read some of them to us. So if you know that you're not clear with some of the explanation, I will welcome some of the question on the chat box. But what I've said so far is that as human, no matter who you are, we become who we are by the collection of our experience. And NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, tends to depict the fundamental dynamics between our mind, our language, and how this affects our body and behavior. So never forget that the mind and the body are connected. So that's why the moment you are sad, it will reflect on your body. The moment you are happy, it will reflect on your outward appearance. So the body and the mind are connected. So it is so important that you think about that. So just 1 minute. Okay. Okay, so sorry for that little distraction, just a little network glitch there. So that's what I've said so far. We need to understand this thing because it is going to determine a lot of things about us. Now, let's quickly talk about some principles of NLP. Now that we understand NLP, that has to do with the internal process. I have to reemphasize it because it's the foundation of this class. It has to do with the internal processes that goes on in our mind. And these are largely affected by our language. That is either what you are hearing from your inside or hear from outside. And this eventually will affect our programming, our mindset, the way we are, the way we respond to things. So somebody, for instance, that I've heard from the parents that you are not good enough, you are not good enough, you are not good enough. Over time, it's going to create some internal processes that keep reminding him that he is not good enough. After some time, he's going to behave as someone that is not good enough. So that's what we need to understand about the concept of NLP. And you can modify some of these things because whatever somebody does on the outward appearance is a reflection of what is inside. Like I said, tomorrow, I'll talk about the inside-outside concepts. Where as a leader, when you negotiate with people, or as a salesperson, when you are talking with people, because of the outward display, you can have an idea to what they have on the inside. And that helps you to deal with people as a leader. That helps you to deal with people when you try to negotiate. In fact, sometimes when you try to sell a product, it also makes you to understand how you are going to market the product. So these are some of the concepts. Number one, we respond to our experience. Sometimes we don't respond to the true picture of what is on ground. we tend to respond to the experience we have had in the past. Sometimes we don't respond to the reality on ground. So that is one of the principles. In other words, someone that had experience, let's say, forgive me for the ladies that are here, a lady that been cheated severally by several guys. The moment the correct guy is now coming to the picture, she's going to respond to this present guy as being one of the bad one, even though the guy is not the bad guy. So she's responding to the experience she had in the past, not really what is on ground. So sometimes when you deal with people have conflict in an organization, and you are a leader or you're a business person, there's conflict, people are having conflict. They are not reacting to the reality of ground sometimes. They are reacting to the experience they've had with people in the past. So once you understand this concept, it helps you to manage people. Sometimes you may need to go to that past to correct that past before they can deal with you. So that's the importance of that statement. Number two, having a choice is far better than not having a choice. I'm sure that one is very clear. Individuals make the best choice that they can at all times. It is important for us to understand this statement. Individuals, they make decisions at all times based on the information they have, based on the experience that they have. People are who they are by the collection of experience they've gathered over the years. That's why sometimes if you take statistics, you realize that those that are in certain part of the world do not behave like the others in certain part of the world. For instance, if you go to places out of this country, you can see that a lot of them tend to live in isolation. They just stay in their house. You have neighbors, you don't have to greet them and all this stuff. But once you live in another part of the world like Africa, we tend to live a communal life. We greet each other very well. So it is because of who we are and the choice we are making per time. So people think that they make the right choice at all times. When they are taking a decision, to the best of their knowledge, they are taking the right decision at all times. So sometimes you need to give people benefit of doubt when they're making decisions, especially when you are in a marriage with an individual. Some of these things are very quite applicable in marital affair. You need to sometimes give your spouse some of the break, because he or she is making decisions based on what she has known or he had known over these years. So you can imagine somebody that have never grew up in the kind of environment that you grew up, somebody that have never had the kind of exposure that you have had, somebody that have never been given some training that you have had. So you don't expect the way they will make choices to be the same. So sometimes when you are dealing with your spouses, you are dealing with a close pal, you are dealing with a friend, you need to understand that those decisions are based on the experience of the person. Now, sometimes you can have outright people that are wicked. So that's not what I'm talking about here. So we leave all those. When I'm talking about people really that want to make some advancement, they are the one I'm trying to talk about. So all actions have a purpose. Yes. When people take actions, they have a reason for it, either positive or negative, as the case may be. So all actions have a purpose. Okay. And sometimes, in order for us to help people to take a different action, we need to help them to see differently. I have had a situation where you are trying to explain something to somebody repeatedly. You realize that the person couldn't understand what you are.
Be free, stop printing.
Okay, so I think somebody was trying to talk there. All right. So you realize that sometimes the person you are trying to tell him to change an attitude or a behavior, he doesn't understand because he thinks that the action he's taking is the right action. So most times for you to help people to take a different action, you need to train them. So for some of us in business, for some of us in organization, for some of us that have families, wives, and all that, that are behaving in a way that we don't like, we don't have to fight them. The way to go really, which NLP teaches, I'm going to talk about that in the next 1 or 2 days, is to show them something different. When they begin to see, they will change their action. But if they don't see, they will not change their action. So people will change their action when they see. So that's why organization, the concept of training and retraining your staff cannot be taken for granted. You must train and retraining because that helps them to see differently. When people begin to see differently, they can change their purpose, they can change their action. So the next one, every behavior have an intention. When people behave, there's an intention. When people behave in a certain way, there is an intention behind it. So sometimes when you have your friends and they behave in a certain way, there's an intention. So it is for you to understand the intention of that behavior and being able to respond to it accordingly. Okay, so let's understand that the unconscious mind balances the conscious mind. So I'll talk about this more tomorrow when you talk about the concept of inside and outside. Sometimes what we see is the behavior of the person. What you see is the behavior of the person, but the behavior of the person is the iceberg. The behavior of the person per time is the tip of the iceberg. There are a lot of other things that you are not seeing that are inside the person. So the unconscious state of the person actually drives the conscious state of the person. And these are some of the things we need to understand when we deal with people. So what we do with people is not to kill, is not to just discipline them, but we may need to change that inside of them. It is when you change inside of them, the outwards begin to change. So now the meaning of the communication is not what you intend, but also the response that they get. So what we're just trying to say here is that most time when you talk, people are reading your body language and people are going to respond to you directly. So communication is not complete until you understand the response they give to you. So as much as possible, you must communicate explicitly in a way that they will respond to you positively. Now, we already have the resources that we need, or we can create them. So you must understand that all the resources we need to do well really is inside of us. It's either they are there already, or you can create new ones. The mind and the body, they form one system. Okay, they are together. The mind-body system, they are together. What affects your mind will affect your body. You know, remember the Bible says, as a man think in his heart, so you are. So you are a product of your thoughts. So there is a connection between the mind and the body system. So we process all information through our senses. We process all information through our senses. Now, human beings respond to what they hear. Human beings respond to what they see. And sometimes we respond to what we feel in our body. That is why when Coca-Cola started adding a bottle of Coke to fried rice and chicken, you understand that after some time, because we have seen it over and over, whenever you want to buy fried rice, you start looking for Coca-Cola. So people, we process information through our senses, okay? So it is the information that enters through what we see that affects us. So once you understand this, you will be able to deal with some negative habits. Now, once you model successful people, you can achieve their excellence. In other words, once you do what successful people have done, chances are that you will achieve similar excellence. So the last one is if you want to understand anything, act. In other words, the learning is in the doing. You will never learn anything until you begin to practice that thing. It is when you practice that stuff, that's where learning begins. So I encourage us that some of these things we have learned today, we need to put them into action. We need to look into ourselves. We need to understand ourselves for our awareness. Who are we? What have we learned? What have we been to? We need to look at all of them. It is when you put them into action, that is where you begin to change and evolve to somebody better and somebody greater. Now, tomorrow I'll talk about the experience cycle. I've said that, and talk about the inside-outside revolution. It's something that you want to learn. What we have done so far is just the introduction. Okay, these tomorrow courses are the cocoa of the class. That's just to lay the foundation of what we are going to. But the experience cycle, it is so important. We are who we are by collection of experience. Don't forget that statement. The things that you've gone through, you know, experience is based on 3 factors. One of them, the past. 2, what you continually see or what you hear. And 3, your exposure. Those are the 3 things that determine our experience. And you will see tomorrow that the experience cycle keep going on and on and on and on and on and on. And the way we act today, some of us, it is a factor of our experience. Sometimes we pick it unconsciously, but as we discuss the inside-outside revolution, you will understand that our action is just the tip of the iceberg. Our action is a tip of the iceberg. A lot of things go on our inside before you see the action that you are seeing now. So these actions are just a tip of what goes on inside of us. So in summary, before we take some questions, we have said that NLP depicts a fundamental dynamics between the mind, which has to do with our internal processes. How do we process information? I gave an example of a soldier and a civilian. You put them together in the same environment, and you have armed robbers attacking the environment. The way they will process that occurrence or information is going to be different entirely. One of them will tend to run, while the other will tend to fight. Even though he may run initially, but he wants to fight. The same thing, you put a doctor and a non-doctor in the same environment, and you see a sick person. The doctor will likely want to respond by correcting the problem. The others may not respond that way. So we have said that that internal process, the way we process information, is the concept of NLP. And that way we process information, it is based on our experience. And our experience is a factor of the past, is a factor of the present, and is a factor of our exposure. That's why if you expose people to training, if you expose people to new environment, if you expose people to new places, they'll begin to act differently. Because at that time, that environment have changed their experience. Sometimes when you assume a position of a leader, when you become a leader over some group of people, you begin to understand what leaders they go through. Initially, you did not understand, but because you have occupied that position, you begin to understand. I remember when I was still a single guy, when children make noise around me, I get almost angry and all this stuff like that. But right now that I'm a father and I have children, I understand how children sometimes can almost make you go mad because of the way they discuss. So I have changed my reaction. Why? Because of the experience I have. Experience in terms of raising up children. So because of that, I have changed who I have become. So neuronal processes or your internal processes, what goes on inside, which determine a lot of factors about us, it is based on our experience. Experience is so important. That's why they say sometimes go for training, because the training will change your internal process. That's how we say sometimes go for an exposure, because the exposure will change everything about you. That's why they say sometimes you need to take some time in NLP. We talk about recode your experiences. Find a way to recode your experiences. Sorry for that little network interruption. So we'll talk about, you may need to record your past. We'll talk about the concept of, you know what you should expose yourself to. There are some places you cannot go because they will record your mind differently. We'll talk about the concept of exposure to change your internal process. And this internal process, like we said, it is based on our language, our communication, either from internal or from external, either verbal or non-verbal. And ultimately, this thing will program you in a direction, would fix your mindset about issues, about the environment, about people in a certain direction. Thank you so much. I think I need to stop here. We are almost out of time. Let's take some questions and see how we can take it from here. Thank you, Mr. Ben. Please, do I have some questions? Mr. Ben, are you there? Do I have some questions?
Okay, yes, sir. We have some questions.
Yes, please.
On the chat box.
So that we can just address them and keep to our time.
Okay. It is said one cannot change people, especially your spouse, but you are saying we can change people. How do we reconcile this?
Okay, so we must know that people can change. That's a factor that has been said anywhere in the world. People can change, okay? Number two, you cannot change people, but you can influence people to change. The reason why people behave in a certain way is because of what they see. So help them to see differently. When you help them to see differently, they will make an adjustment to improve or whoever they are. So changing people here, influencing people to make adjustments. That's what I'm referring to. And for you to influence people to make adjustments is to help them see differently. Let me give you a good story. There were about 6 men, I'm trying to rephrase the story, 6 men that have lived in the cave for many years. And they kept looking at a picture. I never knew that that picture they were looking at was a reflection of the real image on the world, but they were there for many years. So as they began to look at that picture continually, one of the guys one day just woke up and said, let me even go outside and see what is happening. So the moment he stepped out, he saw the real picture behind them, that the picture they've been watching is not the real picture, that the real picture is behind them. So he came and told the other guys that, guys, this picture you have been looking at is not the real thing. It's a reflection of the real thing at the back. Those guys did not believe him. Those guys do not believe. They kept looking at that picture because they said that picture they are looking at is the real thing. So that's how people are. People see from their perspective. So for you to change them or to influence them to change, let them, help them to see differently. So take them from the training, train them, take them out for an exposure, take them for a course, let them do the masters, let them do the BSc. I can tell you that where I am now is not the same place I was when I just finished secondary school. If I had just finished secondary school without having to go for further education, I would have seen a different world entirely. But because I have gone to school, read a lot of things, met a lot of people, I have changed a lot. So when you allow people to be exposed, they will change. I'm almost out of time. Let me stop here. Any other question, Mr. Ben? Pick one.
Yes. I know NLP was a fad in the early 90s, but as a concept is still relevant and effective in influencing people. Is it still relevant and effective in influencing people and organizations effectively today?
Well, there are a lot. NLP is an ever-evolving concept, and it has different application in different walks of life. So it appeared, it almost looked like the elephant. So wherever you hold the elephant, we give you impression of what the elephant is. So as of today, some of the concepts are very relevant. And for me, I've seen some of the concepts are not relevant. So the ones that are not relevant, I tend to leave them off. Okay, so but some of the concepts are still relevant vis-a-vis the concept of being able to understand your experience and have a way to adjust some of these things to achieve your goals. So they are very, very relevant. Somebody just talk about how do you balance NLP and spiritual concepts. In fact, after studying some part of NLP, I realized that God was the first NLP man. I remember the story of Abraham. Abraham had to leave his community because God apparently had been trying to talk to Abraham that you'll be the father of many nations, but he didn't understand. And they kept calling him Abram, Abram, Abram. So that was the concept he had. That was his internal process. But God took him out, said, look at the sky. When you look at the sky, then count the sky and see how much you can make of it. So it was at that point, something changed inside Abraham. So when Abraham looked at the sky and began to count and realized that they are uncountable, suddenly he got the understanding that, oh, this is how my children are going to be. So that changed the internal environment of Abraham. And then he started walking towards it. So if we don't change, if we don't adjust, let me not use the word change now. If people are not adjusting from inside, it will be difficult for their behavior on the outside to adjust. So that's that. Do we have any other one because of time?
One more question is there. What can help us change our unpleasant experience?
Yeah, so some of these things I will address them further tomorrow. When you talk about the experience cycle, you are going to understand how the experience is formed. So once you understand how the experience is formed, you will know how to change some of these unpleasant experience. So tomorrow we'll talk about that in detail because of time. Just stay with me tomorrow. We'll talk about how to change your some of the experience. For instance, if as you are now, if you think of some unpleasant experience you had in the past, if you think of them, some of us, we can still feel the same way we felt when that thing happened. That same way you felt when you had that bad experience. The experience is long gone. You are no more, in fact, you are a big boy now. You know, you made money. You're even the president of Nigeria. But if you think of that situation that happened many years back, you feel the same thing as though it's happening today. So that's a concept that we need to understand. And that concept can be dealt with based on the principle of NLP. So we'll talk about that tomorrow in detail. Any more questions?
No, that is all in the short bus.
Okay, thank you so much. Trying to see how much you can keep to time. Okay. Okay. All right, so just in a word of summary, please let's remember that we are who we are by the collection of experience we have. That's why in most companies, nobody would employ you if you don't tell them the experience you have had. Nobody will just pick you today. Even in political circle, nobody will pick you and make you a governor if they cannot look at the experience of your leadership. It doesn't go that way. In fact, in some places, you cannot become a governor until you have held some certain positions. So your experience is important for you to function in the next phase of life. If that experience is negative, it's going to affect you negatively. If it's positive, it's going to affect you positively. So the ones that are negative, we find a way to adjust them, which we are going to talk about in detail from tomorrow. Let me stop here, and I need to welcome some of my leaders that are here to make one or two comments. my president, the immediate past president of the Nigeria Association of Resident Doctor, please let me have an honor to welcome you. Make one or two comments before we call it a night. Thank you, sir.
It's quite enlightening and gives a new perspective of how the mind works. So mind works in circles, and whatsoever experiences we have gained in life tends to affect now and affect the future. And it basically needs a balanced mind concept to be able to take the positives out of the negatives to make life move forward. I look forward to joining you again tomorrow. Thank you so much, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. It was an honor having you tonight. Can I have Dr. Kopi? Please, are you there? Okay, I think he's no more with us. I have some other people. Mr. Sakwe Osadebe, please, if you don't mind, can you just make one or two comments?
Yeah, greetings, everyone. Yeah, I really enjoyed this section. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Any other person that want to make a comment? Mr. Kess. Mr. Kess, it will be great to have you make one or two comments.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, it's quite good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Quite a nice section. I learned a lot, and I will encourage everyone to keep at it. Is actually, some people feel that NLP has a dichotomy between NLP and the Bible, but that's not true. It's actually, the foundation is from biblical days, and if you are a student of the Bible, you understand that is quite related, and it will do you good to learn all of this. I have followed a lot of I'm a bookworm, and you see a lot of old authors, they still talk about the power of the mind. If you can manage your mind very well, you can manage yourself, and that's the basis of NLP. So I encourage everyone to keep at it, and I hope at the end of the day, we will learn a lot and will become a better person and be able to address life and manage people effectively. Thank you.
So much. Thank you for showing up tonight. Tomorrow again, we'll come up again. Mr. Boyd, please, I now hand over to you. Let's close the class. Then we'll see tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Well, thank you very much, sir, for such insightful teachings. So the class continues tomorrow by 8 a.m. at the dot.
8 p.m.
8 p.m. rather, 8 p.m. The registration is still ongoing, so we can share the links to our friends, our colleagues that we feel they can be part of this training, because learning is never ending, and it's something we all just need to take advantage of. So thank you very much for everyone who has attended this training. So tomorrow we kick off. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.